to the computers, and I will share the download link with you later so we can probably put it up on the website, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, yeah, we are on the recording. I will start sharing my little presentation so we have something to follow along. And probably, Cheryl, what do you think? Should I introduce myself or do you want to do that?
Oh, no, you go right ahead.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so maybe I will stop the share for now and then people can at least see me as I talk a little bit about who I am. So my name is Stephanie Baker. I'm a new addition on this wonderful platform, Nyala Healing. I'm like so happy to be here. I'm an astrologer and passionate about it, and I've been doing this probably since my 20s or so that I really wanted to know more, and then I took professional studies. So now I'm a certified NCGR level 4, that's the highest level astrologer. I have an NCGR stands for National Council on Geocosmic Research. So, and my very special interest is in medical astrology, and there's no reading where I will not look into the body and how it is connected to the sign and all this. And also Uranian, which is a branch that is symmetric. And also I like to look into the Mayan astrology. I do mundane and also people oriented, like personal astrology. I have a second leg in Mexico, in the Caribbean, where I decided to build a house in the jungle in 2012. And I'm open for retreats there and also astrology related workshops. And here I'm a tutor, astrology tutor. I want to expand and also expand to include little groups, smaller groups of students. I totally love teaching astrology, and I co-wrote a book. One of the fellow authors, hopefully she will sign in also later, Roshni Sharma Fleming. She's a Reiki master, and then the other co-author was Jenny Date also, and she is an astrologer also. And another book I co-wrote with a former school, at a former school where I was teaching. It's for children and astrology, so it's fables. I love to bring astrology to people, and therefore I'm super delighted to be here and share the 2026 outlook with you ladies and also with whoever grabs the recording later and maybe chimes in later. So
Mm.
now I will go ahead and share my screen and share my little presentation that I prepared for the outlook. Let's see, here we go, of 2024. I'm not quite there yet. Let's see. Start. Okay, here we go. So I call it opportunity and innovation. There are a lot of smaller contacts between the outer planets. And those are minor contacts. So they are not really super strong contacts, but I think they give little opportunities to us people to see developments in the socio-political scene where we are all part of, and we all want to see, like, okay, it started when we look back to 2020. This is where our perceived quiet world has really gotten out of order with all the lockdowns and things that we have never been confronted with, and we realized, oh my goodness, this can go so far as to like really bring to a halt a whole world with all infrastructure, with all delivering goods and all this, and from there on, I think that more and more we accept that drastic change is possible. So the astrology is basically an like a pattern. There's this pattern recognition because all the like the outer planets that are much slower than, like, the moon moves 11 to 15 degrees in a day, and Pluto is so small it stays in a sign for between 13 and 20 years. So of course they hover on one zodiac degree for a longer time, and that has a deeper impact. And it does not only affect a day or like a week or a month or so, it will affect generations. And so that said, in terms of like the cycles and repetitions, where we astrologers look at over time, how has it behaved in the past, and that helps us. Oh, when this and this happens, and when these and these planets come together in this and this angle, then we have seen that kind of behavior. So this allows us to gauge and anticipate what may be up. We can never say it will exactly happen like that. We only have like a guideline, and that helps us prepare. Like we look at the weather forecast and we know, okay, we take an umbrella, or okay, we wear slippers instead of boots. Okay, so the energetic overview of 2026 is, so in the spring we have this period between the 20th of March and the 6th of May, where all planets are direct. So this is like really a forward thrust, and that gives us a lot of wind in our sail with getting our projects ahead. In the fall, more and more planets fall into, which is called the retrograde. And so that is when, apparently from our point of view here on Earth, when they appear to move backwards in the zodiac against the backdrop of the fixed stars and the constellations. It's, of course, it's an illusion. It doesn't happen. But when these moments are, when a planet is in a retrograde, it's introspected. The happenings are not forward and outward and ahead. They are more integrating and reviewing. And that's when we say Mercury retrograde, oh, don't sign contracts. But it's only about, it's asking us to really make sure to read the fine print, to be very aware, make better, like not half-heartedly make decisions. Sometimes we have to sign a contract when there is a Mercury retrograde. I know that I have an interesting experience with my computer and software when Uranus, the planet that stands for astrology and the sky and aviation and all this, when that planet went retrograde, I thought I was so clever when I purchased a new laptop just the day before. But Uranus was already in the pre-retrograde phase, which is called the shadow. And yeah, so in terms of the retrogrades, values, partnerships, finances, and resources and projects are related to Venus. And then we have Mercury retrograde and that affects all our thinking, our logic, our communications. And communication is the exchange of data that we have in our mind to transfer it over to another person when we are talking to someone. So our information, we are exchanging information when we have a communication, and that includes truth and also statements and documents. And so that is what we have to be mindful of in the fall. In all, the most important element is the or the modality, I should say, the polarity. So is the masculinity, because all the outer planets that have their heavyweight, and they move into all masculine signs, which is air, communication, mental, and air and fire, which is taking action, taking initiative. It's like participatory. We have to do the action. We have to choose to be part of a tribe or not. And it's not about leaning back and expecting things to happen in the outside. So the only counterbalance is then Jupiter, that is in Cancer, which is right now, and Chiron, that will be in Taurus, which is a feminine sign also. Cancer is a feminine sign, receptive, and Taurus is a feminine sign. So those two planets, Jupiter and Chiron, they will be in feminine signs, and that's kind of balancing this yang and masculine and outgoing and loud energy.
I just got to
Then,
know, did your computer purchase end up being a lemon, or what was the?
yeah, yes, yeah,
Okay.
yes. And I will wait until Uranus goes direct early February until I make any change. I will not do any change right now.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And so now the first thing that I want to look at, because this is a healing platform, and I think a lot of us are interested in what is happening when Chiron moves into the sign of Taurus in the summer, exactly on my birthday on the 19th of June. And then when we want to know what happens then, so what does it mean when Chiron is in Taurus? So as I said, we look back into the periods when it was before. When it was in Taurus before, we look how it behaved, and then we can see what were the topics, what were the themes and the trends and the movements. And so first of all, we want to look, okay, what is Chiron to begin with? It's a modern, it's called Centaur, half horse, half man. And Chiron is the wounded healer in the zodiac. In the among the planets, we incorporate him as a planet already, even though he's a young planet, only discovered in 1977. But in mythology, Chiron was renowned for healing, medicine, herbs, and music also. And he was a teacher, so he was teaching medicine to Asclepius, for example, the god of medicine. And so with that, the whole topic of energy healing and Reiki, which is an energy, all these topics and professions in the same moment will gain prominence and importance and this the front and center stage. So we are looking back to herbs and all this because even the administration now says like back to whole milk in the schools for the children, not only juice. So I think that we are kind of turning back to more holistic ways of healing ourselves and nourishing ourselves. And so then we look at um, Chiron and Taurus in the past. So this is the first step back. So now the upcoming an entry into Taurus. Taurus, I should throw into here now. Taurus is all about the body. It's about the field. The field, what are we growing in the field? Potatoes, what are we planting? Harvest, it's about plenty harvest, rich harvest. I mean, the harvest itself is more related to Virgo, but Taurus is the planting, it's the fertility, it's the food that is providing us with nutrition. And so now we have the upcoming entry into Taurus, the sign of values, and it's ruled by Venus. So therefore we associate it with values, which is also money systems, because also the harvest brings us income and money that we go on the market and we sell our potatoes. So the time before the earliest past time was 1976 to 1984 in that period. And as I mentioned, in 77 was when we found Chiron in the sky. So, but then mathematically it was already in Taurus, even though we didn't know about it in 76 then. But what happened then? So we had the first pacemaker implanted in a person's heart. I have to go back to Chiron. In mythology, he was shot accidentally by an arrow. And then Prometheus said, like, okay, I will give you a constellation in the stars, so you will be immortal as a constellation in the sky, but you will become mortal. So it's all about mortality and life and health that's associated with Chiron. So then now we look back to the last second to last, like the what happened last when Chiron was in Taurus. Then we had the Alma Ata, that was a health care declaration, disability rights, then a big movement of alternative medicine, festivals, veganism was on the rise, gaining traction. Acupuncture was getting noticed because this was not in the past. Of course, herbalism, we did have that. Even homeopathy I'm a German by birth, so homeopathy was in the old, like in the medieval, was practiced then, but it was kind of forgotten and it was repressed. So now in Chiron coming into Taurus 1976 to 84, it gained traction again. We had then the Muskegee study that ended up being the Belmont report to protect human research. It got disregarded later on, as we know, with the human, like the experiments and the Nuremberg processes, when we said like, hey, no more experimentation on humans with pharmaceuticals. But then, so in the same moment when the natural healing gained traction, pharma said like, oh wow, this is like gaining traction here, and it is so cheap because it grows in nature. We cannot make any money with it, so we have to like really put a break on it again. So they tried, like the pharma, they tried to get their way again, which is more synthetic and is more controllable and more profitable for them. So they tried to move the movement in terms of like, hey, be more convenient, have processed food, it's fast, and fast food in front of the TV, quick dinner, and like this consumer culture, corporation food systems, and then the pharmaceutical capitalism. That was the counterbalance. You see, when something comes up that a controlling group does not tolerate, then they try everything that they make it difficult for the natural movement to be successful. So Monsanto already was existed in the early 1900s, but it was the GMO groundwork, chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and the monocropping, and that came up in the previous situations even before. So the last thing I want to mention here in this phase of Chiron and Taurus, the deregulation of banking. So the early neoliberal turn in banking, and more loosening of the rules.
Mm.
So to leave more backdoors for certain controlling groups.
So you're saying when Chiron goes into Taurus, that's going to be this year?
Yes. In
On your
June,
birthday, June
June
19th.
on June 19th, that's when Chiron is entering Taurus again. So we can assume that what happened the last time, and then these three last times before that. So we go as far back as the 1700s here. So in 1926 to 34, the Great Depression, again, malnutrition, food scarcity. This time it was a different circumstance. So it was all about basic survival, which is Taurus is also simplicity. It's basic, like back to the basics. Taurus says, give me quality, not quantity. Another thing, penicillin was discovered. Only later it was mass produced together with the sulfur drugs that were used in the World War II, again, to prolong lives. And then many farmers lost their soil because of degradation due to the Dust Bowl, and in the early 30s. And of course, this is a weather circumstance. The Great Depression, though, is a man-made circumstance. So, and then we had dramatic land distribution laws that took land away from like property away from people and distributed it, like it's very strong in the Baltic regions and Poland, Yugoslavia, and all those regions. Then the period before that, we had industrial food production taking off. We had food contaminations. So there already people thought like, oh, let's add a little bit chalk in the flour to just get more volume, and copper salts in greens to make them look fresher and greener, and form aldehydes from like in borax as preservatives, lead even in the food. So of course, at one point, people drop dead or sick, and that raises the red flag. And so that helped with consumer protection, because people would say like, this is not possible, you cannot do this, this is food poisoning. And then in terms of the money side of the Taurus equation, the wealth polarization, similar to what we see right now, extreme excessive wealth versus the like the very small labor people that got little wages only, and while the others with railroads and steel and banking made like a ton of money that was so unrealistic already. And then the previous period before that, 1779 to 87, that is when the UK invented the Enclosure Act. So that it took the common land away, so the peasants didn't have the access to the land to graze their cattle and be self-sufficient anymore from the land. And then that is when the monocropping was depleting the soil so strongly that it ended up with a potato famine, because it was such a high yield. They said, "Oh, potato, only potato growing," and then they didn't realize it was just bringing out of balance the whole nature. That is also the point when the herbalists, yes, they were kind of like tolerated, but it was more going towards like, ooh, we have to have like norms and regulations and all this, and so unlicensed healers that took the profession or the gift from their grandmother maybe, and like family lineage, they were unlicensed, of course, and it was working, of course. Midwives and all these, they they were they were like tolerated still, but they were not as much respected anymore. And we had a system called the humoral and holistic. Like the humoral system was used, and together with astrology was a big part of medicine. Doctors had to know their astrology. So you would look at the chart, and when somebody came down with a disease, so you had a decompositure chart that was mapping out how the disease would turn out. And then, so the humoral medicine looked at the body fluids, urine, blood, the bile, yellow bile, black bile, and also, which is still used in the Vedic, like the composture of the body, the vata, pitta, and so on. There also they looked at melancholic, sanguine, and you had the humors, the tempers. So, and that was going away from the tempers and that type of like doctors had to know this. Now more anatomy and pathology, more scientific, measurable.
So does this
So
kind of bode well for holistic medicine with the
I
time of
would say
Chiron coming?
yes. I would say yes, because it gets in the spotlight. I would say definitely yes, it gets in the spotlight. And what are we doing out of it? How well are we defending it? Where do we set the value? If I always say, when we vote with what we buy, where we click, what we choose, what we support, where we invest, even if we are investing in Kellogg's versus I don't know, some kind of like a holistic food, like, I don't know, mushroom coffee, to just to give an example, which is like holistic, something like whole food, or something that is more health oriented. So
Uh-huh.
where do we put our money? And that's where we humans, we think like, oh, I'm just one human, but we do have, each of us, a power in our hand, with our wallet, with our fork. What do we eat? What do we buy? What do we put in our shopping cart? And this time, knowing, when we look back and we are aware of the pitfalls, like, yeah, high yield potato, do we want to do that again? Do we want to set our values to something that gives us a quick fix and money? We cannot eat money. We cannot eat bills. We cannot eat coins. And that is what we now, in this period from 2026 to 2033, when Chiron is in Taurus, now this time around, we can make better decisions. All of us, and we are more. We are so many now. Pluto in Aquarius is another factor that empowers us as single individuals. And when we connect with others and we make better decisions, we can change the world big time. So yeah, when it gets to food, land, and bodies, and how we put our values. So yeah, the themes, and just to repeat again, is like all about food and body issues. Also, Chiron is about shame and suffering. It's the pain. It's the Chiron, the wounded healer, the pain. It's about values and money, soil depletion, and land ownership. There is, for example, over the course of last year, more and more people were talking about why is Bill Gates buying so much farmland in the Midwest, and all these things, like looking at it. And we don't have to be aggressive about it, but we should at least talk to local politicians and raise the question it. That is important, I think. And I did that even as a German citizen. I'm still a German citizen, so I was writing to one of the politicians because of like taking the rights away of people. So if we don't say anything, the ones that are still in leadership, they think, oh, the people are okay with it. Nobody is giving contra arguments. And I think this is the time now where we have to become louder, and we don't have to say like we don't have to be aggressive. We don't have to be mean. We have to be educated and intelligent. But we have to say something. We cannot let this happen again. So the antidote, as I said, vote with your fork and read labels. I know it's difficult. We have to take magnifying glasses to the store in order to read all of it. And I always say, like, if the list of ingredients is too long, then already I don't know about it. They try to hide things. I have a friend who designed food labels, and she says in order to qualify as organic, you only have to be 60% organic. That raised in 2012 a red flag for me already. So we choose quality over quantity, invest in what sustains life in terms of where we invest our money, but also what do we support? Which products do we buy? And it may sound like, okay, organic is more expensive. Yes, that's true. But the other question is, do we have to have the quantities? And I mean, in Europe and the US, I mean, the obesity is like really high in Mexico also, and it on purpose. It's on purpose that certain groups have an interest in being in the people in the population mostly being sick because they become return customers in doctor's office, and that's what we have to break that cycle and heal through more nature, music, vibration. That's when, yeah, Nikki and I, we talked about the vibration of earth and the purring of the animals. That is healing already also. And music is vibration. The sound bath has become so popular, and holistic medicine. And that's when I say this, it will take off again. And do we let it happen this time that the big boys from Big Pharma um, make it difficult again? I think that this administration is now, like with Kennedy, I think he's more inclined to more healthier ways and more holistic ways. From what I see so far, I don't know. Hopefully it stays like that, and more change will come in terms of cleaner air, stopping all these like chemtrails and all this. So hopefully we will see changes that way. And the last point here is using astrology to understand our own body's needs and living that way, and not following trends that are, we are also so unique, and not one diet is good for everyone. So that in terms of Chiron, the wounded healer, and I think, as I said, it's important for us healers to be aware of this possible pitfall and not letting it happen again. And then the next thing is these little contacts, these symbols here mean there's representing angles between the planets, sextile, and this is a trine, this triangle, and this again is a sextile on the bottom. And I have them in chronological order here. And today is actually the day when Uranus, the change maker, the rebel, the breaking the systems, and really breaking out of old structures, and the planet Saturn that stands for structures, when they have like a supportive conversation, if you want, It's called an aspect. An aspect between planets is when they make a contact, and that can be a sextile, that can be a trine, that can be a stressful square, it can be an opposition asking for balance. So those are the milestones in between conjunction and conjunction. The easiest to understand this is when we look at the new moon, which is tonight, actually, in the astrology sign of Aquarius, and new beginnings. So we have new beginnings, new moon today, actually, in life and in real world. And Uranus, the ruler of astrology, if you want, making a favorable contact with Saturn. So, okay, but what does it mean in our life? So it only means something for us personally when it makes a contact in our own birth chart and when we look at it in a cycle. And that's when I mentioned the new moon is when the sun and the moon are in the same degree in the zodiac. And that happens, of course, once a month. We have a new moon, and that's we know so well. It's like, oh, I'm wanting to start a new project. Let's do it on a new moon because then it has momentum. It's the new seeding. We put a seed in the soil also in the new moon, and then nurture it. And then we have the opening square. That is when we look at. Let me hop to this one real quick in between, just to talk a little bit about the 360-degree cycle that is the zodiac band. So we start at here the bottom Aries, that's the first sign, and then we have 360 degrees to come back to the Aries. Let's say 0 Aries. Let's just pick one planet here real quick as an example. Let's pick Chiron. This is the symbol that looks like a key, and it's 0 Taurus. So the cycle is starting at the zero, and then we look at the first step would then be 0, like 2 signs ahead, 0 Cancer, because that will give us a 60-degree, a sextile angle. So that's the first stop in the cycle of the 360 degrees. The next stop will be a square. That is a stress test. It's like, oh, do we give enough water to our seed? Does it have enough sunshine? Is the soil moist enough? And check in. So it's critical. And make sure it's all coming nicely. This is the square. And then the next stop will be a trine. That is the next element. So we started at 0 Taurus in our example here. So that will be 0 Virgo, which is also an earth sign. So that's like, oh, there we see strength. The shoot comes out. Maybe the first leaf is visible from our seed that we planted at the 0, at the conjunction. It's called the conjunction. And so now this Chiron in our little example has moved to 0 Virgo. We see success, but we still have to reach our opposition. So 0 Scorpio would be the opposition. We make sure like is everything well? So we have to do another check. Is it supported enough? The stem is already visible. We have to make sure maybe we put like a shashlik skewer as a support and bind it so it has more strength. And then so we have all these milestones to get back to the point where we were when we started the cycle. And that's when we can do it with the moon and the sun, which is our new moon and full moon and clothing square and all that. Or we can make it from the planet itself. And that is when I jump back now to when Uranus had the conjunction with Saturn. So what does it mean really? So as I said, breaking the rules, new, ahead, innovation, change making, like the alchemy, breaking out of old structures. And Saturn says, no, I want the old structures, keep the status quo and don't make changes. The old regime, the old guard, they are in a conversation that is kind of supportive. The sextile is supportive in the cycle. If we just look at the cycle from the seat setting between Saturn and Uranus. And just to explain what is the cycle about, and then we have the same happening in a supportive setting with Neptune. Neptune is all about spirituality, compassion in a good sense, but also delusion, deception, because it's all about it's the gaseous planet, big, and it is associated with movies. It's dream and myth, but it's not reality. It's not fact. Neptune is arts and not fact. So these two have a conversation. And then we have Pluto, that is intensity. It's empowerment and intensity. Uranus and Pluto both have to do with change. And then the last one is Jupiter. Jupiter is expansion. It's the biggest planet in the solar system. So, and then we have dates connected with them. And this is just a little overview, and I hop to the first one. Here it's not in chronological order, so here we use the closest, like the closest to Earth planet or the closest to the Sun planet. Jupiter is closer and faster than, for example, Pluto. That's why in astrology, most of the time you use the faster planet with the slower planet. So, but the system, again, we look at the last conjunction, because that is the seat setting. So that was April 20th of to be precise, last year. And that was when we saw in the news, we just looked, what are world events, what happened in the world actually at that time. So Julian Assange was freed. Interestingly, in the previous conjunction, which happened then in Pisces, which is all about lying and deception, and Aries taking action, that was when he was actively in the news, because he was it was all about, Pisces is also about okay, so the ancient ruler of Pisces was Jupiter before we found Neptune in the sky. So therefore it has to do with honesty and the lack of honesty, like lying and honesty, because Jupiter is about the truth, like the big truth, in terms of also religion. What is the big truth? And life philosophy. I want to know, what's the big truth? What's the big thing in life? What's the only truth in life? That's Jupiter is seeking the truth. So all these topics came up in that period, because Julian Assange wanted to inform the people of what had been, like, the leaking WikiLeaks, like telling people truth about what is happening behind the scenes. So it's all about law, liberation, and justice. Then also we had airstrikes. Uranus is about air. It's an air sign. It's about astrology, as I mentioned earlier. It's about aviation. It's about cosmos and outer space also. And so when we look at what's happening in the, like, airstrikes, of course, and yes, we don't really want to look into all the nitty-gritty war and all this, but I say in astrology we have to just take a neutral scientific look at what happens, and that enables us, in rather saying like, oh, I don't want to look at that stuff, we just have to know what the possibilities are, so we can tell the people that come to us and look for healing. Because oftentimes these people come to us for healing because they are overexposed to these lower vibrations, because this is war and haggling about earth minerals and harvesting earth minerals from outer space, even from other planets, extracting minerals there. That's something that is a lower expression of these possibilities. So there it's important to know about it and then say, but this is how we can better do it, how we can better deal with all these manifestations, possible manifestations. So all these things, flash floods and we're talking about 24, that was cloud seeding. They busted a youngster in Texas that actually has a company that influences the atmosphere so that it builds clouds in areas that are not equipped to handle that much rain, like in deserts, for example. So that's all we have to look at it and point fingers at it and say, no, this cannot be. We cannot intervene and mess around with nature in this measure, in this size. It's impossible. We've paid a high price, and also in the last season, and the last time the conjunction was when we had the Arab Spring, people being fed up with all these being forced, and the religion, Jupiter and Sagittarius stands for religion, and of course Neptune and Pisces stand for religion. The religion has become so big that it's seeding wars, and that is definitely not what humanity should be doing. And I think this will reach the pinnacle this year. I mean, it has already 2025, but it's so in our faces that we cannot look away anymore. And so then what happens? Of course, escalation, conflict. People don't want to do this anymore. People go on the streets. Hopefully, we don't revert to like really attacking, throwing over cars, bombs, and all this. I think it's very low. It's a very low expression of the pent up discontent with it, and we can do this differently. So also, yeah, the high tech chip production was what we saw in the seeding phase. So all that automation, yes, religion, all these topics came up, and now we look, okay, these topics come up. What can we do better? Because it's the sextile is supportive um, um, aspect, communication between Jupiter and Uranus, the change maker. So this enables us to mastering learning curve in terms of the AI, and making sure the human aspect is not falling at the side. So we use it constructively, not as a war instrument, like to send drones to another country, no, but to help us um, with like gaining insight, gaining like learning. Learning is the best thing, really, because Jupiter is all about higher education. And so the school system in the past, I see, because I'm a teacher also I was in charter schools and mostly private schools back in 23, but I have seen that like when you look at the education, that they are trying to make consumers. They don't teach the children really like, okay, when you don't have enough money, you shouldn't make the expenses. Making debt is not a good thing. And so that's something that we can change. And also the way how we teach children, it's not really telling them this is what you have to believe. No, it's really finding their strengths. And astrology is such a good tool with that. You look at the chart and you see what the child is really, what their strengths are, and enhance the strength. You know, a lot of times I think that when well-off families try to force their children into something like, you have to become a lawyer because that makes money, you have to become whatever, and they have like a caring heart, they want to become a nurse and make a difference in the world that way, and then they become, they are okay, they have to maybe sign up for those schools and become a lawyer, and they hate it, and that what happens, they fall maybe into drugs, and that's when you find an escapism. This is escapism. So I think it's the wrongest thing to force a child to take a path just because of profit. So okay, so that is where we can make a change, and self-paced online learning is, we can support that also. And it is not good to be on the screen all the time. Yes, we can find balances with nature. That is definitely possible. So I think we will see changes in travel. I think it was Alabama that already what is that? Stopped with the TSA. The transportation, where you go through the X-ray arc, and you have to put out all your belts and take off your jacket and put your shoes in a
Mhm.
bin. I think that we can go back because we're so scrutinized anyway. There's like they have all our data, and you go through a lot of. I travel a lot, and I see
Mhm.
this more and more. You just go through, you just show your face. There are hardly any people sitting looking into passports anymore. So I think we will see a lot of liberation in that aspect, and still have safety because you know exactly who's on the ship. And there's not much. I mean, look at what happened with the Somali. They carried so much cash in their suitcases only because government looked away. Now it's not possible anymore. This is the time of transparency. Air is, you can see through the air. And so all this is not possible anymore. And then, yeah, I mentioned earlier the aerosols, chemtrails, and weather manipulation. I think, my boyfriend, when I lived full time in Mexico, when we went to the ruins, he asked for permission to enter a ruin like Chichen Itza or Koba or so, because you have beings still there that are the guardians of the place. So we go to outer space and harvest all the rare earth minerals. We shoot all the trash up there, all the satellites. Do we ask the like other nations, like other species for permission? I think that's where the human race has to be more humble and more respectful. That's
So you're saying it bodes well for this sextile of Uranus and Jupiter bodes well for it's a positive thing, yeah?
yes, I think that's possible. Exactly. And that's why I'm putting these up. I think that will be a good door opener. Will be good. It will be helpful for writing new laws, looking at these things, what we did wrong in the past, and being more ethical about things. Yes,
Nice.
definitely. Yeah. And then, yeah, personally, we can also get, I'm just knowing better, not being afraid of the AI, just knowing it's data collection in the end, just making it faster. Like we started using calculators, electronic calculators at one point, but what are we using it for? And also saying yes, learning new things, and then, yeah, finding the balance with the earth, with the nature, going out, bringing kids out to nature while having them access to learning tools quickly. And then, as I said, the circle, to complete the cycle, we will get to a square in 2027, and then make sure, are we still on the good path? And then the trine will give an extra, like, real wind in our sail. The trine is stronger than the sextile because it's more powerful as an aspect. So we see more ease, maybe laws having come through already, implementation of the things that we come together as communities and say no more this, but more that.
Nice.
And then so we have good influences because we have this Jupiter sextile to Uranus. It looks already like a parabolic antenna, Uranus,
Mm.
and Jupiter is here. And we, in the same moment, we have this very beautiful trine between um, Changemaker. It's also like an alchemist changemaker. Pluto is like deep changes, burning bridges of things that are outdated, and Uranus, the change maker and innovator, and visionary Neptune and compassionate Neptune. Instead of deceit, it can be vision and it can be compassion. So that's the seed, that the possibility.
Nice.
And the connection is then Saturn, Uranus. Saturn, I mentioned already, exists in structures, laws, institutions, like banks, all the institutions, and control. It's the big teacher, like do your homework first and then go play. Uranus, of course, disruption, reform, liberation, innovation. So we look back in the cycle, what happened when they were together, because that was the seed planting. We had and that was, in 1988. So the first internet warm, we called it warm then, and then the first transatlantic internet connection, improved phone lines, And you see, it's all to do with high tech. That's Uranus technologies, and then also the global warming. So it was then when it was started that the human was really put on a guilt trip. Yes, the human has to be very mindful not polluting the earth, but I think that it is even worse running a war. You know, the people that decide on a war, it's not the people itself, it's the leaders. So there, when politicians use their private jet for like short distance, you just, oh, I just don't want to have to do with the traffic. Nay, then we should really ask who is more responsible for global warming. And we do have to be mindful. Yes, 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 absolutely. We have to be super mindful about nature and protecting the climate and protecting this beautiful planet that we are part of. And
Mhm.
it's just not that you cannot say like, oh, it's only because of you. It's because of also factories and also laws that are letting run toxins into the ground, not to speak of a war, like all the diesel and explosive that goes in the soil. So then we saw also the collapse of the Soviet Union. Again, what is the Soviet Union? It's communism, socialism. Tell me one socialist movement that has been thriving. Why did they have to build a wall around Berlin? Because people don't want to do that. They don't want to be oppressed. It's stifling creativity, and it is not helping the people. It is only the leaders fill their pockets, and it's like really taking the possessions of the single and giving it to the whole. If you do it the right way, I mean, then there is conscious capitalism also. And so the Soviet Union was probably the most peaceful union or the communist unit that fell apart. And so then we had outdated systems, had to reform under pressure. Capital moving across borders. Here again, this happened in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is all about long distance. It's about foreign nations, for other cultures, all things foreign. So we had more investments in other countries. 88, that was the boom when all the like Spanish companies built in Ibiza and Mexico, even when they built the big resorts. So the money from those locations were flowing back to Europe. So of course, on the long run, it's not very supportive for the region there, rather than green tourism and conscious tourism. Then, but it's the seed again, international ownership. Like as I said, the big hotels owning property, beachfront properties, all on the rise. Democratic movements, on the other hand, emerging and erupting across Asia. A lot of skyjacking, again, Uranus in the sky, airplane aviation, airplane disasters, unfortunately. It is all about laws, safety laws in aviation. So, you know, there was recently also Boeing, they were also trying to shortcut. It came out, it was like really big in everybody's face, and
Right.
they had to take these. I think they were called Max, the Boeing Max, whatever
Yes.
airplanes, they had to renew them. So does it always have to be so dramatic and come to so many accidents for people to say like, okay, yeah, we try to cut red tape and to make some profit? That's the big question now, ethics. And then, yeah, Iran-Iraq war ends, and a lot of massacres, riots, extreme weather we saw. And when we look back, I mean, HAARP, HAARP, was like declared as a weather, like a measurement facility in Alaska. Hmm, I have seen so many different sources that confirm that they did influence the atmosphere also with frequencies. And frequencies we can use for healing, like as I said, Reiki is a healing, it's a natural healing frequency. And sound healing, sound bowls, and they talk a lot about med beds. A couple of people that are like former war veterans, they confirm that to me. And then so
They
Saturn,
confirm
Uranus,
what to you? Met?
Medical beds, and Tesla came out with one of them already. So you go and it's vibration. You put yourself out to a vibrational environment. Church bells had also more of an impact, and there are Japanese scientists that put people under a church, like the huge church bell, like the people stand inside and then you hit the bell, and that vibration is like really rearranging your tissue. Oftentimes pain is intoxication of the cell. And so I think that all this, what we saw in 88, that was likely to be misused, we get a new take at it. It's again a sextile, it's supportive. So Saturn, Uranus, the hard aspects are the conjunction, square, and opposition, because they force us to take action. They are catalysts. And so they make a change. So for the collective readiness, because we are all interconnected, you go in a room and you can feel how the energy is. You go in a company and you know how the people interact with you. Oh, this is like ease, they're flow, they make jokes, or they're like stiff and they're controlled. You can totally pick it up. We can feel that. And so it's the end of an old paradigm. It's a tech evolution, breakdown of authoritarian rigidity like the Soviet Union, and its liberation from that. Humans sense that, and the leaders pick up on it, and then the pressure will do all the rest. It's a natural unfolding. Now, personally, we can make sure Saturn is a realist, is realistic, and as I said, do your homework first, then go play, and then you're free to play. So we learn vocational skills. With this upheaval, it may not be a smooth riding. It will not be a children birthday party. So we have to make sure that we are fit, we are healthy, we are strong, we know our stuff. So the a lot of workplaces, Saturn, government, but also business. A lot of businesses will, like a lot of jobs will fall away with all the IT, and the AI will be automated. So, but we still have, there's still stuff that AI cannot do. So like solar energy systems, electrical stuff, all the trade skills, air condition, IT infrastructure, networking, and cybersecurity, mechanics. We have all computerized cars now, but the old diesel engines, you need mechanics for that still. And there's still a factor in a car also that has to do with mechanics. And then the big thing, the human factor. Humans, don't be afraid, because you know, I always see this as like a bilingual way of new life. We are humans, and we will not get away from it. I worked with low vision and blindness and disabilities. I ran the tours when I started my tour business in 2008 in Mexico, wheelchair tourism, and for blind people and all this. It is all about what we can use to overcome the limitation, the bodily limitation. And then you can use robotics for bodily movement, optimizing. You can implant cameras in your eye and you can gain vision again. What is possible is just beautiful what's around the corner, but we have to use it for the good, for something constructive. And so the human factor is like the ethical and the caring, nursing, counseling. And the arts are healing. Look at a picture and you're transported, into a different state. So that's where our power lies. And we have to just see, okay, the power in AI is it saves us big time. And then we want to become the person that can fix, build, maintain, and has the courage also, and optimize and heal. And we take action. We are not falling back on passive, like on the passive, like, oh, but we have to have a leader who has to take care, and there has to be a government that regulates everything. No, we have to be our own leaders now, and we have to stay flexible, and also like have backup. Also, I mean, I have a solar powered generator just in case, and maybe even maybe even like water purification to get rid of viruses, just in case. We never know. We
Yeah.
may be without fear, just like a doctor says, oh, your bleeding wound, I cannot look at it, oh my god. The doctor cannot say that. They have to be strong. Come on, put your leg here, I will put a pressure band around it. So you have to have we have to man up if you want.
You have to man up and be resilient. Yeah.
Exactly. And then and stay physically fit also. And that's important. And not only these two planets say that, a lot of others. This now, Uranus, Neptune. So Neptune is the fog machine, and it can be dissolution, which can be helpful because there may be things that we want to dissolve. Illusion, vision, spirituality, and the collective, because we are kind of invisibly connected. We feel others. We can feel others. And Uranus, as I said, breakdown, breakthrough, innovation, reformation, the sky aviation, as I all mentioned before. And then when the seed was set, it happened in Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign of government, nations. It's a practical earth sign. And as we know, Capricorn and Saturn belong together. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So here, because that way we find back all these keywords that we use for Saturn also: institution, system, authority, the big boss, the father, the leader, and also borders, because Saturn is constriction and limiting. And naturally that corresponds with borders, bridges, and construction. So the last conjunction was of Neptune and Uranus was in 93 in Capricorn. That was the Cold War was fading. Czechoslovakia was dissolving. Chemical weapons convention, like, okay, we had Agent Orange also. So what's ethical? So it had to be kind of like regulated. That's Capricorn also. The EU was established. I think all these EU, NATO, and all these, they stand on very shaky legs, and I wouldn't be too surprised when they dissolve. The World Trade Center van bombing happened, Bombay riots, and bombing again. Neptune is because it's a collective, interconnected. So again, you do have a lot of revolution, and Uranus wants liberty, also breaking free from oppression. Then we had civil war again, and disarmament crisis. That was a big one also. So it's all about Neptune, compassion, peace, getting away from the wars. Some want war, but it's not us. The people ask any person, any citizen, and they will probably say, no, I don't want to go to war. I don't want to send my children to war. It is only the financiers and the leaders that want war. Why don't they go to the war? So, but this will be big questions in this upcoming um, period. So again, weather, virus, because Neptune. So that's why I say we have to be super fit and have a healthy self autoimmune system, because it's what you cannot see. Neptune is fog, so that's why toxins and intoxication and escapism are connected with Neptune. It was when Neptune was discovered that anesthesia that you use it's useful when you do an operation on a person. They don't go through the pain, because before we discovered Neptune, we didn't have that. So people would be really in pain when you had to cut open a body to operate out something like a splinter or something. So that there was a hantavirus outbreak. And I think we all kind of agree that the COVID was an attempt to, like, a lot of people call it a bioweapon. I am inclined to call it a bioweapon. And so in that, we know that we can plant this in the population. So seeing that already, and that was it was a big event that showed up in the world news. Then the other thing is hurricanes, tsunamis, and earthquakes. Earthquakes, when I see Uranus, I see a lot of earthquakes because it's eruption. Volcanoes and earthquakes go along with Uranus. When Uranus has a signature in the astrology, making a contact with, for example, Neptune, tsunami is the ocean. Neptune is the ocean, is water. So
And that
there,
follows an earthquake, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that is exactly an undersea earthquake, and also ferry disasters. And what do they go back to? Disobeyed safety regulations or overloading a ferry. It's not considering whether that all errors of it is a man-made error in a way, a ferry disaster, unless there's like a really surprising, like a bad weather that nobody was really counting on. But most ferry disasters I would accredit to human failure.
Mm.
Then a dictatorship ended, and the dictator jailed. Then we had Waco siege in Texas, and that is like the craziness. Neptune can be compassion and spiritual, but when you take spirituality too far, and the reason um, fades, then you have like cults. So
Fanaticism. Yeah.
yeah, occultism. That's in danger also with this whole thing of spirituality. We all feel that the church, and what we found out now in the recent like 1 or 2 years, what has happened, the misuse of boys and children in church, what happened under the name in the name of church, the um in like the conquests, in like misuse of children, for like sexual pleasure. That is incredible. So this is being questioned, and I think that we all, I mean, we all on Nyala and people that are conscious, we know that spirituality is an inside out thing, and religion is an outside in dogma that is put on us.
Mhm.
But I think we will definitely take a deeper look at that. And also, like, Eastern philosophies were on the rise in 93, channeling, holistic healing again. So therefore, I would say also that this, like the herbalism, holistic healing, we see that reinforced with this Uranus Neptune conjunct, um, the good aspect, the useful current upcoming aspect that is supported with that. So the X-Files came out, so we will be super interested in what's going out in outer space, and maybe, I mean, we have the James Webb telescope also. Maybe we will establish the first um communication. Uranus in the end will enter Gemini. Gemini is all about communication. And so yeah, so we had also the first web browsers and websites going out. So that's also in terms of communication online, and emerging and dissolving boundaries. So people can talk now on different continents. And then also the previous conjunction before this conjunction 93 was also in Capricorn. What was then? That was when the churches in like all the liberation revolutions, when Mexico, Peru, Colombia, and Greece from the Ottoman Empire, when they wanted to break free, when there was yeah, revolution.
Mm.
And so, and now we look at what's the sextile this time around will give us, what possibilities we have, the chance to redeem the seed in terms of tech and imagination, science and myth, and media and mind. We probably all agree that we cannot really trust what we see anymore. AI videos have become so good.
I
It's
know.
not, yeah, the pictures, it's not that you find like six figures on one hand anymore. So it's like really difficult to tell apart. So
Mhm.
the collective themes, of course, are media, AI, simulations, psyop, deep fakes, propaganda, digital illusion versus the truth. We can only rely on our truth meter, that is the human sensor that we have. So I mentioned already frequencies, radiation, vibration for healing or harm. So I know that in the lockdown protests in Australia, they applied weapons, radiation weapons. People had burned skin.
Mm.
They had to vomit. And right now it's coming even out when the US went into Venezuela. The soldiers were paralyzed. They had like they would describe it as an explosion in their head or implosion. They would the nose bleeding. They were paralyzed. They couldn't do anything. So that's the new weapons. I know a lot of people say like, "Oh, atomic war, atomic war." I don't think. I think it's so 45, so 1945,
Mm.
nuclear bombs. I think they talk about nuclear in terms of energy production because with all the data centers that we need for AI, we will have to find more ways. That's why they say, yeah, let's go back to atomic energy and let's go back to um, all kind of other energies that we went when we had the Green New Deal, when we said like, no, we don't do that. So now we say, oh, we realize we need a lot more energy. So we open up to all conventional energy gaining. But I think in terms of war, we there's so much where that went on. This particular Uranus Neptune, the previous, this was the seed in 1993. The previous seed was so sinister, where there was like after the war, the Second World War in Germany, I.G. Farben, they did experiments. Uranus is experimenting, is the scientist, on women. They cut open their legs to put viruses in there to experiment with antiviral drugs. It is so sinister what has happened in the past. We had the Macy conferences, we had MK Ultra studies where they used drugs in the time, but now it's so sophisticated now. So I think the war is more on a screen, which is in a way it's good, so we don't have to send people. But why do have war to begin with? And I think slowly it will take time that the human is untrained from this aggression, from the aggressive behavior, and rather focus this development on good stuff like research, yeah, and finding ways to clean the trash patch in the Pacific Ocean or so. Deep sea research, and I think we will see a lot of deep sea research, especially also with the outer space. So a lot of channelers overlap with that, and in remote viewing that they have been like in a submarine, they have been followed by like high speed phenomena under the earth. So maybe unidentified objects are not only in the outer space but also in the oceans. We know so little about it. There's
Mhm.
the Marian Fall trench that is so deep. They're supposed to be one species, like an eco environment that is so unknown. Yeah, so it's a time hyperactive, hypermental, the meme culture, which is a good antidote to politics that are falling apart anyway, because the old structure of government is just not working anymore in the Uranus in the Pluto Aquarius world anymore. Thoughts become things, and that's why we have a lot of responsibility. So we want to be careful what we wish for. So the high road
Mhm.
inspiration and the tech for good, for the good, and not for mass confusion, manipulation, escapism, and yeah, and transhumanism. It's good for if you have like brain injury for healing. Here's the memes, and I think they are so good. Some are so good.
I gotta tell you, I clicked something and I lost your
Share.
PowerPoint.
Oh my
Somehow I'm
goodness.
not seeing the PowerPoint right now.
Oh, so you have to retrieve that at your end because I'm seeing it still.
Oh, okay, okay.
Maybe you can, if you hover on the ground of your screen, on the bottom of your screen,
Hmm.
do you see it?
Um, I wonder if I click.
Or I can do it like a new share, maybe. I try.
It says like first name. No, 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 no. Mhm.
I just stop the share and reshare.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Reshare. And then, oh,
Yes, now I can see it.
good.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I
Sorry about
grabbed
that.
one from the past, like an old, an old, it's a caricature, memes, satire. This
Mhm.
is really, and in the courts, in the old courts, they had the jester. He was allowed to say a lot of things to the king.
Oh,
So
really?
that's a way of protest. It's a fun way. I'm cracking up by, here, this is the newest, the Oil Kings. I love it. Some
Mhm.
of them are so good. It's just so good.
Yeah.
And some of them, the leaders even pick up. There was one thing that they made out of JD Vance, and he even reposted it. So
Mm.
that's so good. It's so good, really, and peaceful and fun. So, what can we do as a personal being? We can train our discernment. And as I said, we have a truth meter. We kind of can tell whether a person tells us BS or something is right. If something, like some of the pictures that came out of Venezuela were like, I don't know. They are saying they're happy, but the faces don't say that.
Hmm.
So, you can tell. And then protect our nervous system. Super important. Uranus is also in the body. It's the nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. It's also the ankles and the calves in the body. So, and Neptune is the feet and also the yeah, it's Neptune is hard to diagnose. So it's the toxins in the body. So it's the decay, whether that's related to feet or to teeth, decay of bones, for example, only in connection with Saturn more. But in terms of Neptune, Uranus, it's the nervous system. So we have to be really, really, really making sure that we have enough exposure to nature, go out for hikes in nature, water, spend time at the water, in the water, swim lakes, rivers, and then be sure where we click on. What do we listen to? What groups do we join? Groups also Uranus is groups, and so then the imagination we use, we can create with that. We can create constructively. Visualization, a prayer is an order to the universe. Like, hey, give me that. and and creativity is really our friend. And then don't escape, because a lot of people that are very fine tuned, but specifically maybe Pisces people, or that have like a dominant Neptune or even Jupiter, which is the ancient ruler of Pisces. Don't escape. Use your art, because oftentimes the escapism is when we are forced to something. Pisces really have a problem with timing. They don't understand the concept have to be at work at 8 a.m. and of course Pisces have to take an airplane, so they have to blend in. But it's really they don't know the boundaries so well. That's why they have to be super mindful of having healthy boundaries, because otherwise they get taken advantage of. And yeah, music, paint, arts, dance, create, make movies, and learn with the tools, not against them, and be genuine and truthful ourselves. Humor and art definitely is a medicine too, and then ground our bodies. Kind of goes hand in hand, being in nature a lot. Then the next one, Uranus Pluto. And that was the famous hippie culture, the last seed. And we have a
Oh,
trine coming up with that. I'm born 67, so I'm just coming right out of that. And there was a lot of riots again. So again, it was a time when there was,
I remember. I'm
yeah,
67 as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
And I was
So
Berkeley. I saw the National Guard on the streets of Berkeley.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. So there was the against the war. Let's not do this. Let's not do, that was the Agent Orange escalation, because it was in Virgo, which is about health, purity, and healing. And that was also when the LSD and the ARPANET experiments was in the air. We went out to the moon in
Mm-hmm.
69. Finally, I mean, people question this also, and a lot of people say, like, we were there before. So all these things will come around again. That is the seed that we set. How ethics. Pluto is all about ethics. It's the application and the consequence if we are not using it. It was the Cultural Revolution in China. Medicare, Medicaid were launched,
Mm-hmm.
health again, and then the large scale reorganization of hospitals and welfare,
Hmm.
automatization. So it's good helping us, but we have to make sure that the human factor does not suffer from that. And then multiple airplane crashes, of course, going back to safety again. So there, maybe we have new propulsions. I have a friend who is a pilot, and he says in Canada they have been using electric planes. Well, you don't have a big radios with them, but they are not as polluting. But yeah, leading to new safety procedures. The high road again, belonging to multiple communities. And we choose to with whom we identify. So it can be layered. We can be yes and that. We don't have to be like only this and like this two-party system. Whether you look at, like, in my hometown, in a home country in Germany, like you cannot be for these people, you have to be for these people. So and then automatically you are against these. And it's not about left and right. It is not about democratic and republic at all anymore. It is about ethics. It's about ethics. It's about goals. And it's like, what are we identifying with? It's the power decentralizes. That's why the old government becomes outdated. And it's active. We participate. Otherwise, we will be left along the road. We will be just left behind. And we have to be active. Borders become less absolute with this, of course, and then collaboration across cultures becomes easier. We have to be mindful that we don't lose the human factor. We don't want to be part of these like 15-minute cities and only a number, and being like, when we don't do X, then our bank account gets closed, or we will be socially limited, and we don't want to be governed by algorithm. Yeah, right now, I mean, when we call a bigger company or so, raise your hand if you're surprised if you call a number and somebody picks up the phone.
No, that doesn't happen.
So it's like a doctor's office or something like that. It's like so
Maybe that.
rare now. So it's
But even
really,
then, they're off in some country on some corner of the world.
yeah, that's the other thing. It's so hard to understand sometimes, even though they mean well, but these poor guys. Yeah. So now the trine, that's a big one. That's a bigger. The trine is stronger than the sextile. So that's our chance now. Massive leaps of the seeds that were planted. And so more things will be implemented already. It's just so important that they're ethical, whether
Mm.
they're terrestrial or non-terrestrial.
Mhm.
Human. We have to be mindful. We have to be respectful. It will all come backfire otherwise. So we will see a lot of supernatural phenomena. I think the veil becomes so thin. It would
Mm.
be arrogant to think that we are the only ones in space. I think none of us believe in that anymore. And I
Mhm.
think telepathy will become stronger. Intuition will be super heightened, which is great for us healers also. And the people that we are helping. And
More
the
acceptance
universe.
of it too, as well. And I'm just thinking
Yes,
about,
yes, totally.
like,
That
I
is
have an
so,
app where I can say something and make a clone of myself,
yeah.
and then somebody could come in and say, have her say it in Spanish. And then
Yes.
I'm able to communicate with someone who speak Spanish or Japanese or
Absolutely. That
German.
is, mhm.
Yeah.
That is,
So,
yeah, dissolving boundaries also. Yes, totally. And helping with disabilities also, and including people that way, and language barriers, dissolving language barriers totally. And yeah, education, decision making, everything. It is looking at the helpful factors of the machines. Neighborhood transformation in terms of what do we really want? Do we want collaborators, or do we want to be administered and be locked out if we don't do XYZ? And so DAOs are decentralized autonomous organizations. And that's a beautiful thing. It's not something new, but I think it will gain more popularity and more power, more of they're more established because yes, they have been around. When even Uranus went into Aquarius in 2023 the first time, oh, I was all gung ho, and I thought even we will see more communities and like people buying big land and subdividing, and people invest that way, and we take all our responsibilities. One is baking bread, the other is cutting hair, the next one is, I don't know.
yeah, I'm reading this, what you have here, from citizen of a state to
Mhm.
node in a planetary network.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
That
Yeah.
is the way, really. Yeah. And we don't want to support the negative side of it. We don't want to feed in there. So there can be encryption, and in terms of the money system will fall apart. I don't know what is exactly happening. It's so paced, but encryption is a thing. Hackers will find ways to break encryption. We will find better ways of encryption. It is definitely an ongoing thing, and more transparency will be as along the way. So counter AI tools, for example, to detect fakes, to detect fake videos. Um, yeah, and then so high energy, and I think also we probably all have heard about the Tesla energy that was available for free for all, and certain people didn't like it, so they would try to stop it. And how you cannot stop it when it's cooking. The pressure cooker, the lid will come off. So, and we are at that threshold, and it's better to say, oh, exciting, we came for this. And when we remember the soul searching, for example, that is a big thing. Uranus, Pluto, that's our chance to do deep psychological and soul alchemical transformation. This is wonderful, wonderful possibility for us. And it's a trine. And then imagine if it hits our chart personally, what a wind in our sail.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be from Gemini to Pluto. From Gemini, Uranus in Gemini to Pluto in Aquarius. So Gemini people, early Gemini, early Pluto people, fasten your seatbelts in a
Oh
good
my
way.
gosh.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I have to tell you, I have a meeting coming up in
Uh,
10 minutes.
oh,
So
okay. Mhm.
I just need to mention that.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And I'm probably going way overboard.
I'm so fascinated though.
Yeah, we are at 1.5 hours now. I know. It's so much to share, really. So, what I can do is maybe I stop the share. No, you know what? I don't have to stop it, really. What is
Just keep, you can
most
keep talking. And if I have to drop off, I just wanted
oh,
to tell you why.
okay. That's an option. And then people can also break it down if somebody says like, oh, it's like a 2 hour thing, then they can just listen at their pace. I don't know, Nikki, how about you?
I think Nikki had to drop off. She said in the
Oh,
chat she had to get to a meeting that was a
I
few
see.
minutes
Okay,
ago.
also. Yeah,
Anyway,
because we set it for an hour. And yeah, well, you know what? It's a monologue. Why don't we do this? I mean, it's definitely I come back here now. What I just want to share then as like an ending, like not to have it loose. Let me go back here.
are you able to edit your presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
I can do that. I
Yeah.
can do that. Maybe we just keep it here because also people may think like 1.5 hours is already a long time.
I'm totally fascinated. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
it's
amazing
so much
and
also.
so optimistic too. I mean, the thing that scares me though is the money piece.
Yeah,
Is
I think it's all for us, new for all of us. If we look at the like the enterprise, all these movies and all this, nobody runs around with a wallet. Hey, let me pay
right.
my energy drink or so. And it's something that is already encrypted. And I think that all these movies, they have come out at a certain time in order to prepare us, like the Avatar movies and all this. So I think that it will become obsolete at one point, and all this idea. And so maybe it's just the fact of getting used to something like that, trusting that.
Yeah.
It's so new. It's so new. I know it's scary in a way.
I just, the idea of encryption going away and then, but I remember working in the 80s where online banking was like brand new for
Ah, okay.
businesses, right?
Yeah.
Businesses, it was brand new. And this
Mm.
idea that you could log on and see your
Yeah.
bank balance.
Yes, exactly. When you look at that, exactly. And encryption will not go away, really. So encryption is like a safety belt kind of.
Right.
So I think that will be
But when
there still.
hackers figure out they don't have to do encryption, I mean, when they can
Yeah,
hack things.
I think it will be biometric. It will be really, 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 unique biometric. And we read our, like, even some Hindu Indian healers, they use the iris to tell what is your like health, and they read your fingernails, they read your palm.
Mhm.
So it has been healing art for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think we will use that because that is something so unique, our vibration even. So that will be probably for logging on.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Well,
because
I think I have to say goodbye because I need to
yeah,
eat a
okay.
little something before my next. But
Yeah.
thank you so much. And I look forward to meeting you in
But
person.
yes, yes,
I
at the
filled out
expo.
my form for the
For the expo, like
the
Conscious Life
expo
Expo.
volunteer. Yeah. So I haven't heard
Yes.
back, but I presume I will.
Yeah, I think they take their time also. We have seen how long it took to so that they reply to us anyway.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, we cut it here also so that it's not for overly long for everybody who wants to catch the recording. And then we can catch up with other. There's so much more, and it will really bounce the
But if you want to
boundaries.
start the recording and carry on speaking, you can. Just so
Mm.
today you're in a certain energy, and if you want to keep talking while I drop off, you
Yeah.
can. Yeah, to
Yeah,
your
I think we
slide.
cut it here, and also
Okay.
then it will be shorter recordings also because I think I will have to upload it at your site. I don't even know how that
Yeah, what
works.
you would do, this would be like a canned webinar. If you look at like Tina Zion,
Okay.
she has she sells self-paced, and you can do this too,
Mhm.
self-paced classes on medical intuition. And so this
Yeah.
is a similar thing. It's an event,
Mhm. Yeah.
but people can, but there's no specific date associated with it.
Yes, the
Like
modules
your
exactly.
presentation today had a
Yeah,
specific date
that's what I
associated
wanted
with
to
it.
do. Wanted
Yes.
to do anyway.
So
We'll find a way.
if you get the thing edited and then we see each other in LA, we can work on it
Yeah,
together.
we
Or
brainstorm some more.
yeah, yeah.
Nyala is a wonderful platform. I love you, Cheryl. Thanks
I
for.
love you too. Thank you so much. Okay,
All right.
bye.
Bye. See you soon.